So apparently, there is a group. This article is fantastic. Not all heroes wear capes or camouflage. Some dress in casual, everyday attire and travel around jerking off physically disabled horny guys until they catch a well-deserved unit. I'm sorry, nut. I read it wrong. So there is a group of people. They're called the Hand Angels, and they volunteer to jerk off people with extreme physical disabilities. At the end, it says this group of hand job providers is made up of 10 people from various backgrounds: men, women, heterosexuals, homosexuals, etc. These volunteers are all instructed to keep it at second base. Kissing and caressing and hugging are all in play, but all other forms of penetration are off limits. Just a group of selfless hand job promoters.
You know what? Good for them.
All heroes.
Yeah, dude.
Hand jabbers.
You really gotta be.
Be surprised just for getting elected, and these people have nothing. Ruminate on that.
Yeah, dude. You really gotta be into like charity. Like you have to be into like hardcore doing charity stuff to actually be one of these people to like give people hand jobs. But I mean, that's actually awesome. Like that's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Like,
I think these people just showed up late on volunteer day, right?
How many Goodwill weekends do you have to put in before you're so jaded that you start jacking off people? Because you're like, God, I just don't get that same high from selling somebody else's old blouse anymore. I don't think I'm helping.
So here's what I want to know: what do you need? What physical or mental ailment does one need to qualify to get one of these complimentary?
How retarded do we have to pretend to get these people to show up?
What if my health issue was a mental health issue and I just laid down on my bed and said I can't bring myself to do it? Come on, sweetie.
Restless syndrome. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you guys seen those people who like fake being disabled? Like, have you guys seen those articles of people like who want to be classified as being like disabled?
Oh, they identify as yes, like trans decapped or something.
Dude, I do that just to get a free hand job. That'd be pretty cool.
How pissed off would you have to be as someone who like got in a car accident and can't walk if some asshole with perfectly functional legs is like, you know what, I've always identified as someone who can't walk, and you're like, really?
Yeah, that's gotta be the worst one. The worst thing to identify as.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what? That's just making fun of handicapped people. Is saying I identify.
Exactly. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I need this rascal, the last one at Walmart. Sorry that your the people who are handling and helping you are here, and you actually need it. My legs are phantom paralyzed or whatever they would say.
Well, they actually do hurt themselves. Like they hurt themselves to the point where they can't use their legs anymore, just to get like disability checks and like I don't know. I was reading this whole article. It was just pissing me off the whole time reading it.
It's not PC, but that's how I feel about people who want to change their gender, right? And I don't want to be mean because I feel like people, like if you're a boy and you want to be a girl or you identify as a girl or vice versa, I feel like you're in distress, and I'm not here to pick on you. But like if you have perfectly healthy arms and you identify as an amputee, and this is a thing that happens, people want to like chop off a hand or a foot or something like that. I just saw someone on Facebook, like Reddit or something recently, chopped off the tip of a finger, and she got this big like relief out of it.
No, she didn't. She wanted a bunch of fucking attention. If she those people that actually have that thing, like they want a whole arm gone or a hand gone. How much of her finger did she cut? Now I want to believe
half of a finger, and I saw it in the fridge. I saw it on her hand. It looked very real to me, and I'm internet jaded, and I see them, and it's like, man, like it. When we see someone who wants to be an amputee, all of us say, "Whoa, no, you don't want to be an amputee. Be happy with the healthy body that you have." But when we see someone who wants to be a girl and they want to chop off their dick, we say, "Ah."
Well, it's because being a girl, I feel like being a girl, it's like you're still equal, right? I feel like if you're an amputee, like you just can't walk around. You can't do everything that everyone else can, right? If you're a girl, you could do everything that every guy can, you know?
Not fuck.
I mean, I don't actually fully agree with it. And my friends all of my friends that hang with in the real life, like they're so against that stuff. They're like, oh, you know, I think transgender people is just like a mental illness and stuff. But I can kind of get on board with it, because I feel like if you're a gay guy, right, and you're so feminine, like to the fact that where you really want to be a girl, it's like I don't know, like
that's different though. See, like. The difference there is this: a transgendered person, sex doesn't even enter into the equation in their mind. It's not that I want to have sex as this or I want to have sex with this. and insert whatever you want. It's that I identify as a woman. Now you could identify, you could be born physiologically a man, identify as a woman, but still be attracted to women. You could identify as a lesbian woman.
Caitlyn Jenner.
Yeah, sure. With the
yeah.
North Carolina bathroom bill, I was listening to Joe Rogan talking about it a bit recently, and he said that if you change that in North Carolina, you could change your birth certificate to say that you were born your whatever gender that you
Preferred
identify
sex,
as,
gender.
and yeah, your preferred sex, and then you can go to that bathroom and you're all good. Apparently, the bathroom law. That's the sticking point in the verbiage of that bathroom law is that it has to say it on your birth certificate. So it
has to be what you were born as. Yeah.
So if you don't want to get into any trouble in North Carolina as a
change your birth
transgender
certificate.
person, go change your birth certificate. Yeah.
Never heard
honestly,
that. But on the
yeah.
thing, like Scarce said, his friends call it a mental disability or something. I do too, but in the nicest possible way. Like, I'm not here to pick on anyone. If you told me that they were depressed or that they had schizophrenia or any other mental illness, I would offer the same sympathies. Like, I don't want to be mean to someone who I feel like is in distress, but I do feel like they're in distress, and that it's not a healthy thing to wish you weren't your gender. And that, like, I would push.
I don't
them
think that they
towards-
wish that they weren't their gender. They believe that they aren't their gender.
That might be a semantics
It's
argument.
I know. I think it's an important distinction. Now, personally, I think that the vast majority of transsexual individuals probably have some sort of other underlying issue that might need to be treated, and it's likely mental or chemical or something like that. Now, I'm certainly not a Mike Pence over here that's saying let's electrocute them a little bit. That'll straighten
Right.
things out.
Well,
Straighten things out.
You're
Indeed.
saying there's a lot of comorbidity with other mental.
Yeah,
issues.
absolutely.
Like,
Because
if
there's so
someone
many
is
things that are going to
transgender-
present themselves with that same sort of mindset that these individuals have. The problem is that they give this like percentage of like 2% of the population is transgender. I don't know how they come up with that number, but
like
let's
a
say
lot.
that it's 2%. Yeah, but let's say that 2% is just identifying as it. Well, then you've got to that's a whole other subsect that you've got to dissect and figure out how many of this 2% actually have this incredibly, incredibly rare thing that for some reason we're writing legislation about to give exemptions and exceptions to. It just seems like we're wasting a lot of time and effort. And then, of course, there's the old argument that's going to get made every time. You're a father with an 8-year-old daughter going into the bathroom. Not all transgendered people look like the sex that they believe they correspond to. And the other thing that can get mixed in is there could just be some creepy guy with a beard who wants to go in there and listen to little girls pee. Maybe that's his thing. You don't have to jump to, he's in there grabbing them. Well, that game wouldn't last.
I mean,
too
there's
long.
already creepy dudes who sneak in them. Yeah.
Grab. But I'm more likely real thing is maybe there's just a fucking dude who likes to go in there and listen to girls pee, sit in the stall and jerk off all day. Maybe that's his game.
An
For
open
real.
schedule.
That, absolutely. Yeah. And how do you figure out if that's what the case in there? And because of the current climate, if you will, you're not allowed to even question that because there are certainly crazy men.
Well, that's
Not
just
a
common
problem. They're
sense
not
that if
crazy
you
men.
that
Since
perverts
the
are
North
going
Carolina HB2 bill has been enacted, and it's been almost a year now, there have been exactly 0 people impacted by it. Billions of dollars lost in the economy here. The NBA pulled out, the NHL pulled out. Not sure about that one. The NCAA
PayPal, I
pulled
think,
out.
did as well.
PayPal pulled
PayPal.
out. Deutsche Bank pulled out. Billions of dollars lost from our economy. 0 people actually actually caught by this new law. It's a complete
preventative
loss.
measure, Woody. That's what you just don't see. All of the lives that were saved by keeping these monsters out of our restrooms.
It's actually a grandstanding measure. They're hoping to catch some toothless redneck votes, so they made it illegal.
Perhaps, but if that's you, if it were me, I would be like, well, let's go, let's get that birth certificate thing fixed out. That's probably going to make my entire life as a transgender individual easier if my birth
Yeah, you
certificate
think so, right?
reflects the gender
Well,
that
I have a question. So if you do get that change in your birth certificate, I guess it all depends on what the judge has to say. But say you were going to go to life in prison, would you go to a woman's prison? Because then I would definitely identify as a girl if I knew I was going to go to trial and I was going to get
There was
Let's
actually
sign up for that program.
There's a couple stories about that. There was one that came out recently of a guy who transitioned into a lady but has a penis and testicles still, and kind of got his attorney to get
Dude,
the judge to
that's
say,
amazing.
okay, you can go to female prison, and then he went
If
to
I murdered
she went
someone,
to
I
female
would definitely
prison.
do that.
And she was like, she eventually had to get booted back to the male prison because obviously sex was occurring with all the female inmates, and that you generally don't want that in prison.
McGillicuddy had come into the jail. It was a whole different scene.
Yeah.
Everybody was scissoring up until that.
Suddenly there was a dick on the scene, and everybody got a little excited. You know,
they're scissoring, and then they see what's clearly a man, and the scissoring slowly stops as they all notice that this is a man that's come into their midst.
This I linked you guys something from Jerry Springer. It's this guy. I watched this years ago. I don't remember what he was fully saying, but removes his legs or wearing a dress. I don't know if he's transvestite or what, but he cut his legs off. And he's saying that he's happy that he cut his legs off.
He's wearing a blouse too. Just
wearing a blouse.
Well,
yeah, I don't know if that's a transgender person or if they just are dressing differently.
Dressing differently. Come on.
Differently.
You see on the screen right now because I see
a maniac
hair with disgusting stubs sticking down because he mutilated his body, and he's wearing a fucking skirt. And
so, dude, am I supposed to jump ahead on this?
He has Marine Corps tags.
If you go to like a minute 20, I'm not even listening to the sound. Just go to like a minute or so, and you'll start to see, like. If you're going to cut both your legs off, do you think you'd make a fucking effort to get them both off at the same place? My God, this person's right leg, he cut his own legs off, and he didn't have the decency to be like, I'm going to cut them at the same level. One of them still got like an extra knee length attached. And
it's like, to make it look real, doesn't it?
Now you have to get it now you have to go up and trim like a haircut.
Oh, that's an ugly fuck. Look at his teeth. They're all missing and shit. I can see the 5 o'clock shadow, and this is 240p.
No one looks at this guy and says like, oh, well, he just identifies as a legless person.
Oh, that's a beautiful woman.
So, we should all understand and accept him as a legless person. We all say, man, this guy has a mental disability. In my head, chopping off your penis is right in that same category. Yeah. You can't just identify as someone with no cock and have me say like, oh, yeah, that's completely healthy. We just need to accept you as a cockless person. No, like... I'm not mad at you.
I'm on your side, but I think that you have to make the distinction between what's the disorder when you think one of your limbs doesn't need to be there. It's like some sort of dysmorphia or something. Body dysmorphia. I think there's a huge difference between body dysmorphia and someone identifying as transgender, because it's not like they look at that penis and they say this doesn't belong here. They don't think that their penis doesn't belong in the same way.
A lot of people do, which is why they have it removed, though. And a lot of people,
I feel like a couple decades down the road,
I think it's important.
A couple decades down the road, all of you guys are gonna look so bad when you're putting like one of those montages of like people who were like super racist back in the day. Like I feel like the transgender issue is gonna be like a couple decades from now. Everyone's gonna get so much plastic surgery. Guys are gonna look exactly like girls if they get enough plastic surgery.
You say.
And I just feel like 50 years down the road, it's going to be like a normal thing for a dude to transition into.
I think we're on the wrong side of history.
I understand.
Yeah, I feel like you guys will be on the wrong side of history by talking about it like this. Like,
depends how the rest of our history goes. If we continue in this lovely little period of time where we just got everything we could want, all of our needs are satiated, and we're just looking for something else to fucking invent to keep ourselves entertained, then yeah, we'll all start becoming different genders and different species, and there will be people who identify as different ages and different races.
If you're an adult and you want to go through a transition or whatever, if you're an adult and you want to go through the transition or whatever, fucking do it. Like, go do what you want. You're an adult. You can make your own decisions. But I understand where Woody's coming from, saying that, like, you can notice that there is a high comorbidity with being a trans person and, depression, anxiety disorders, very, very exceedingly high rates of suicide, both before and after transitioning and hormone treatment. You can look at that and say, I feel for these people. Like, these are people who are clearly struggling and they need help. And who knows what the best means of helping them is. Like, who knows? Maybe they'll figure out, hey, we've done all these studies and actually hormones make a big difference. And this is our methodology. Maybe they'll come back and say, hey, actually, we turned out that putting hormones into a person at age 19 or whatever is a really bad idea. And we decided not to do that anymore or whatever. Like, I don't know. It's a very complex issue.
Have you guys seen those like camps where they have all these...
Yeah.
What's up? Have you guys seen those camps where they have all these like really young kids and they all are going through hormone treatments and stuff? Like, I've watched so many documentaries on this where like they have these camps now where their mothers and fathers like want their kids to basically change. I mean, like obviously the kids are saying it, but like the Muslim fathers, they're so into it that they're letting their like 9-year-old son or whatever go on their hormone blockers in order to actually transition. They have these camps of all these kids who like, I guess, make friends with other kids who are going on these hormone.
You know what this means, right?
That's what I am totally against. Like before we turn it into a joke, I am really against that. Like it's a child. You can't be saying this kid is old enough to make this hormonal decision for the rest of their life. This 7-year-old. But this kid, if he wanted to, if he walked into a 7-Eleven and said, "Hey, if he walked into a 7-Eleven and said, "Hey, give me some cigarettes, give me some dip, give me alcohol," they'd say, "You're too young to make that decision," and yet they're letting that child make that decision. Like that's bananas. And especially if you have a parent who's that into it to take them to a camp. I've never heard that story. I'll take your word for it. You can tell that kind of parent's pushing them maybe into it a little more than they should. It's definitely
was there.
Child development.
I think I'd be sympathetic of the kid struggling, right?
Yeah,
but I don't think I would make medical decisions based around it, right? Maybe just emotional and supportive decisions, but not hormones, certainly not any kind of plastic surgery.
You can be empathetic to the
those
child.
blockers fuck you up for the rest of your life. I mean, you're never gonna have like a real cock for the rest of your life.
Now, hang on. You got to look at it from the other side, though. You've got to say
infertile.
If you're on the other side of this, you're looking at like, look, I have precious time here before like male hormones start ruining this body that I have that is definitely identifying as female. Like we have to get me on these blockers, or I'm going to become what I view as a monster. I'm going to grow into something that I don't identify as. That's how they're looking at it.
That's how they're looking at it, but that doesn't justify it. Like that's still, you're talking from you're not talking.
Still, you're not going to even be like a girl.
You're not talking about a 30-year-old.
I don't know. Look. I have seen so many passable ones, especially on the old internet, that I have to believe that if you start at 8 years old with your transition, there's going to be no way to tell. That's what I was getting at. As soon as you mentioned this tidbit, I was like, wow, well, we're talking about a future where it's incredibly difficult to discern the difference between.
I think people won't care eventually, though. I think eventually it'll be like, oh yeah, I was born a dude, and it's just like this really hot chick who you just.
What if you want to procreate though? I think that's where things come into it. Like
dude, eventually there's not even gonna. It'll be like what was that movie? I don't know. I forgot the movie, but where they have like the thing where it's basically like virtual reality of them having sex. And like they don't actually procreate by really having exactly, yeah.
And yeah.
Well, okay, now we're thousands of years into the future where we just have virtual reality sex and then babies just poof.
Now they only froze it for like 200 or so.
Okay, so we're 200 years in the future.
Yeah, Wesley Snipes is a real badass in that movie. It's such a shitty movie. It's awful.
I'm just convinced I'm so right on this. I can't change my mind.
I'm convinced right on it too. But I think it's important to like be right in the right way because there's little pitfalls along the way where you don't even understand what you're talking about. I think that the vast majority of these people are wrong about what's going on, but I think there are definitely people who are right about what's going on, that their brains are just wired in a certain way. And that's what's going to fulfill them as a person, is to transition and be that way.
I just in my head, I'm stuck on this idea that it's a better idea to focus on the wiring than it is the rest of the package. That like who knows, maybe a testosterone patch on their deltoid, and suddenly they start feeling really guyish. Like I don't know, I'm not a doctor, but and also like I keep reiterating, I'm not coming at this from a mean standpoint, because I feel like most people on my side.
You can tell you're not being
right. Most people on my side are like, oh, they've got a fucking mental illness. Screw those fags or whatever. That's not where I'm coming from. I'm coming from like, oh, I can see that this person is struggling. I just think they're aiming at the wrong solution.
Yeah, that's totally understandable. And I mean, like I said, if you're an adult, do what you want. You should have the freedom to do what you want as an adult.
Yeah.
But a child, you should not, as a parent, be able to say, "Oh, little Susan is really loves trucks more than dolls. Are you a boy, Susan? Yeah, I'm a little boy," or whatever. "Oh, she certainly is. We're gonna get her testosterone boosters, aren't you, Susan?" "Sure, I don't care. I still want to be a dinosaur." What do you want to do when you grow up, Susan? "I want to be a space dinosaur, Pegasus, or something." Like that's the age that obviously this is hyperbole, but
I mean, you guys might be right, but I feel like
you shouldn't be able to do that to children.
Down the road, it's going to be the same thing where it's like you guys are saying right now, okay, well, there's something wrong with you, right? Like maybe mentally there's something wrong with you. At least that's what my friend's argument is. It's like with gay people, 50 years ago, they did the same thing where it's like, oh, you need to go to church. There's something wrong with you. And now you guys are making the same argument for transgender people. So I feel like maybe a couple decades down the road, because trust me, I'm with you guys on this, but like I'm just trying to think, like 50 years from now, I don't want this soundbite to be everywhere when I'm trying to run for Congress. Or something. Actually, I can't run for Congress. It says too much crazy shit on that.
Because 50 years from now, I'll be dead.
Yeah.
so I'm really cool in this regard. I'll be 95. I'm not making it to 90. I've never had a family member live that long. I'm so dead by then. So
you're not like partying every night. Like I feel like you're gonna be alive for a while. Like my grandpa lived till like he was like almost 100, and this dude had like cancer like multiple times. He had pneumonia when he was in his 90s. Like I feel like some people are just meant to live for a long time, like no matter what.
Heart attack in my sleep. It's almost predestined. Somewhere between 65 and 75.
Yeah, I'll probably hit around the 60 spot.
I'm going to live forever. I have 2 topics here.
I have one
I'll suck fetuses, stem cells, whatever it takes. I'll prey upon the innocent, whatever is required. I have 2 stories. One is in Thailand. These prisoners are allowed to MMA fight for their freedom. I think that's pretty cool.
That makes perfect sense.
I don't mind that.
Yeah, the best
fighters.
We should definitely take the best fighters and give them their freedom and let them roam the streets.
No. This is a fun thing for Thailand, Woody. Thailand.
And so my second story option is this transgender. It kind of fits where we're going. This transgender teen who had been barred from wrestling against boys. Who had been barred against wrestling against boys wins the girls' championship in Texas.
I read that story. We should just talk about that. That is like, I would feel like such a cheater if I was in a wrestling tournament and everybody knew ahead of time, like, yeah, this person's taking a performance-enhancing drug, and then you get beat by them, and you're like, well, they did take a performance-enhancing drug.
Yeah,
like
let's give a little background. So
totally
this is a girl, who's someone who was born a girl, but who identifies as a boy and has been taking testosterone, and but she's got she's got a vagina, right? But she's on testosterone, and she competed in the girls' division, and she was noticeably stronger because obviously
I think 56-0 or something was her record.
I read.
It looks like all those UFC girl fighters are on testosterone though. Like,
but this
almost
girl
all
is like 11
like, these
or
are high
something.
school girls.
Is it high school? Is it even that old?
High school or middle school? It's an age of girls where they're wrestling for fun. They're not going home and pumping
17.
iron and taking
17.
She's 17.
She looked younger
17.
in my head. I saw her in a small, like a faraway picture. But
look at the link. She's huge.
Oh, you got a link. I didn't see video of her in action, but I read about it, and they said that when she wrestled the other girls, she was noticeably stronger, and she was just able.
Let's watch the video. It's 30 seconds.
Them. Okay. Wow. These are the best pictures I've seen. This is a better article.
Right? You see the definition, the muscularity.
Yeah. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
3, 2, 1, play.
That's her on the left. Oh, dominating. Wow.
She's winning handily.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
That's actually awful. I don't like watching that.
Not even close.
It's not fair. It's watching someone cheat in a competition.
The girl at the bottom can't even get herself off the mat. She can't even get distance between herself and the mat.
I can't even imagine an argument in favor of this. Like, if you have an argument in favor of this, like, I can't even imagine. Like, what would it be? Like, what would you say to the 56 girls that she beat who also were trying to do good? And they're like, oh, I'm up against Mac now, and it's a guarantee that he is way stronger than me, and so I'm gonna get ragdolled out here. Like that would be.
Start reading the story of David and Goliath or something. Then you're like, this is outrageous.
And then at the same time, like, you couldn't have him, who was a her, in the boys division because she'd have no chance, right?
I don't know about that. Scroll on. All right, so look up. There's a photo album there on Mac Riley.
But then if you allow people to do
and
that in high school, then a guy will go to the girls and dominate, right?
He could do that anyway. I would imagine.
No. That's the law. Like, that's what they're saying. Is like, if you're the birth certificate thing. If you're a female on your birth certificate, you have to stay in the female league. And if they let this female born at birth and now a man, if they allow her to fight in the boys division, then they'd have to allow a boy who identified as a girl to fight in the girl division, right?
Yeah. I definitely see your point. If you scroll through
and
these
then that would be totally unfair.
Well, they have that in like one of those big MMA tournaments or whatever, right? Didn't they have that one guy who like identified as a girl and he just beat the shit out of all those girls?
Yeah, he fights in Japan where they don't care about weight classes or cocks. They just
they're about exhibition matches in Japan, which is what's fun to watch on YouTube. All those like exhibition, like, oh, this guy is 600 pounds, 7 midgets. Like, it's like, who's gonna win? Who's gonna win? 7 midgets for the sumo wrestler.
That's funny.
I would watch that.
I'd watch that too.
I want to see that.
Yeah,
I would.
This to me is just patently ridiculous. Like, and if, for me, there isn't a division she can fight in or wrestle in, I should say. I maybe against the guys, but she'd get crushed, I think.
Look at the photo of her next to a guy.
I bet she would be right now.
She wouldn't be the worst guy on her wrestling team.
The whole thing about it is like the gender and all the trans stuff out of it. Just make it what it's about, which is performing drugs. Like you can't be making an excuse for someone to be able to take a PED because then tons of people are going to be like, "Oh, I'm going to opt that way too,"
or maybe they as a steroid user.
If you just go to the highest level and look at well, maybe MMA isn't the highest level. Maybe NFL is, where they don't even talk about it. But if you look in MMA, like the rule now apparently is wait until you get tested and they find that you're on something, and then retroactively come up with the excuse for why you were on that thing, and everything's fine. That's the precedent that's been set now. Like
that shouldn't be fine either.
You don't disclose. You're supposed to be disclosing everything you're on, from Advil to fucking testosterone. But what they've allowed to happen, I guess with Cyborg, is she tests hot and she says, "Oh, let me go hire a few doctors. We're gonna have a little powwow over here and figure out some reasons for why I was on that diuretic." We came up with it. The reason I'm on that diuretic is because I used so many steroids in the past that I like need it to be a normal functioning.
Yeah, to poop them out. Yeah.
But I'm not on any now. I'm not on any steroids now.
I'm only on steroid masking agents, and I'm fucking jacked.